All right, we are back for episode 138 of Digital Divination.
Did you forget the name of the podcast?
I forgot which one podcast I was on, so I'm thinking,
Well, this is it. This is the Digital Divination one.
I know, but there's no disclaimer, so it like freaks me out. I don't know.
Well, yeah, nothing to say. I'm not an employee of Wizard of the Coast, so everything I say does reflect on them. I don't know. Well, I'm doing the opposites, which doesn't make
Yeah,
any sense.
yeah. So Ron is out having fun with
Yeah,
doing family stuff this
camping
week. So
or
yeah.
whatever.
In the Redwood Forest, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You been there?
Nope.
I used
One
to
day.
live in the Redwood Forest.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Up a
part of
tree?
it. No, we had like a 15-foot stump in our backyard, though. And
Wow, that's pretty cool.
yeah, and one time black bear came and was hanging out in it.
Oh,
Kind of weird. So getting out of the rain.
yeah.
Yeah, but that was when we lived in Eureka, so way northern California.
Yeah. That's north.
All right. Well, today I thought we would talk about a couple things.
Sure.
The first one I'll say, I'm going to start off with this. So yesterday was Free RPG Day.
Yeah.
And I got the Battle for Novarush.
There you go.
And so I was pretty excited to see that, written by Jessica Catalan. And I thought we could talk about that. And then
Sure.
I got a couple.
Tell me about it.
I got a couple other things at Free RPG Day. The Expanse Transport
nice.
Union Quick.
That's not. Is that free?
Yeah, it's free.
Wow,
It's just
looks like
the quick guide.
Okay.
And I actually backed it is. It's really, I backed the Kickstarter that has the full shoot match. And then another chunky book is Fallout.
Okay.
Yeah. So I thought maybe we can talk a little bit about that, tying into something else. But getting back to Novarush, the Battle for Novarush. So Jessica had, we heard about this briefly during the Paizo panels, but it's kind of neat to finally see. I haven't had a chance to play it. I'm actually supposed to play it in a couple of weeks, so it's kind of a bummer. I read through it so we could talk about it. So
you'll just have to forget it all.
I will. Have you seen this and had a chance?
No, I haven't seen anything of it. I mean, like you said, I've heard about what it is, but I didn't take a sneaky peek at it at any point for some reason. I don't know why.
All right. Well, then
you run it for me right now. Let's go.
Okay. It's really short.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have some spoilers here, just so people know.
Sure. Yeah.
Just to give a heads up, it's 16 pages total.
Yeah.
Excluding the cover. So it's shorter than like a regular Starfinder Society adventure scenario.
The free RPG Day ones have been getting short. We're making them as short as possible, basically.
Right, and I think the playtime on it would be about 2 to 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So that's my guess.
There's probably like 2 encounters in there, maybe 2.5.
There's more. You have 2 maps.
Okay.
So again, kind of spoilery. So you start on board a ship called the Novarush. And this is designed for play with one of 4 iconics. Now, the rules here are from the core book, apparently, but the iconics are playtest iconics. So you have the playtest rules, playtest 1. So Chick.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have Chick, your Mystic. You have Day, who's the Solarian. Right? And we have Navasi, Envoy. And the new art for these iconics is really cool.
Yeah, it's good art. It's real good.
Oh, and Isif got stuck in here.
Okay.
And operative
Isif.
Yeah. So, no new changes to these things. The formatting is a little weird. It's similar to the formatting for the Starfinder First Edition iconics, kind of how they were on a landscape page, but here they're across two
Okay.
pages. So, yes, you're pulling it
Nothing.
up to look at
I'm
it.
just saying. Okay. I'm just. I'm actually like just maybe gonna pull it up right now.
Yeah,
Opening it up
yeah.
right now.
I figured you probably have a soft copy of it available. Um,
Not currently.
so again, all first level, and the basic premise of this is that you are intrepid heroes trying to.
Hey.
Yeah, I know it's right on page 2. I'm sure Jessica did that as a homage to our podcast, right? Um,
Yes. Yeah.
anyway, the Nova Rush here has been taken over by pirates,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
you are prisoners in a makeshift brig, and you need to break out and gain control of the ship.
Yeah, I am noticing that two inside covers are pretty big maps, and
Right?
uh, way bigger than you would normally do for a free RPG day. But I
Yeah.
think this is because the Novarush is becoming like the iconic ship, so they probably wanted to have the
Right.
full layout of the ship available for future adventures and whatnot.
Right. That was
So that's
what
pretty
was
cool.
mentioned. Yeah, at PaizoCon is that the Novarush is going to be a new Starfinder Society available ship. So, and it's kind of a odd shape. I mean, if you look at it, oh, I have a picture in here. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of
there's
a,
a it's kind of a U shape. It's a
yeah,
almost. I
almost
guess
like it's
that's for
designed to pick up something and hold it in the
pick up
middle there.
yeah, pick up other ships maybe or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, a lot of I don't want to spoil everything, but yeah, there's several encounters. Um, the vessel is being attacked by the corpse fleet as you're trying to break out. So there's
Oh boy.
some exciting things happening, and then
That's
the
a
virtual assistant on board,
mhm.
Captain Concierge, um, is very helpful. So
That's a real when it rains it pours situation. You're
yes,
attacked by pirates and then by the corpse fleet. Oh boy.
yeah, and well, you start as prisoners, and so one of the things it talks about is having each player kind of give your backstory as to where you came from and how you
Mhm.
ended up in the situation where you captured earlier, off another planet where you are crew of the ship, whatever. But you've been there about a week, is kind of what
Okay.
the notion is, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
don't have any equipment or anything. And they introduce some other characters. One of the things that I noticed when they introduce the NPCs is they have a in addition to like the normal little tag, where they say the species and the stuff like that. They also give like a personality characteristic. Um, I noticed with there's an engineer on there, and they say the engineer's a bitter, whatever, whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of becoming the just general norm for adventures, these micro stat blocks all
Yeah,
around to give them a little extra personality. I mean, it's something you would probably put in a sentence if you really wanted to describing the character beforehand, but like putting it in the
right,
micro stat block is nice and sort of get it. You just need to look at those like 4 or maybe even 5 words, and you know what's going on.
right, right. Yeah, so they have
Yeah.
bitter and silver tongued and a couple things like that. So I thought that was
This
kind of interesting. You know,
this is I'm just sort of flipping through. This is something I will sort of, I guess it's a spoiler. Looks like there's some sort of talking electrovore.
yeah,
And
that's
they've taught their electrovore to speak like a parrot, it looks like. So, that's cool and weird.
yeah, it's kind of a interesting throwback to you know the commencement you run into
Oh,
in Starfighter um, first edition, the
mhm.
very first Starfighter Society. Um, scenario you run into an electrovore. So
Yeah, okay.
yeah, so it's kind of neat that they have one in here and stuff. It has
They're
really neat
they're
art,
yeah,
high
yeah.
high
Classic kind
production
of
value.
low level monster to
Yeah,
throw at people, but it doesn't even look
yeah,
like that it is a monster.
right. A monster, and then you have basically pirates you have to fight. Anyway, yeah, I don't want to. That's it. I mean, there's more to it than that specifics, but yeah, it looks like it's kind of a fun thing. And again, I'm supposed to play it here in a couple weeks, so
All right,
um,
yeah.
looking
It's
forward to it.
fun.
And anyway, so the next thing I thought we would talk about, and this is something that I had mentioned to you earlier, so I'm not surprising you with this.
No.
So I thought we could discuss hardcover books that might be fun to have for second edition that we never got for first edition Starfinder. So I assume they're going
Yeah.
to introduce, armory books and magic books and tech book,
Yeah.
all the same stuff they did before. But what are something they didn't introduce that might be fun to see? So that's what I thought we could talk about.
Well, let me jump right in on my pet concept, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
It is something I wanted to do in first edition and thought about a lot, a little bit here and there. And it's something that's still possible to be done, but I want to do the big time travel adventure
Oh.
or slash source book too. Like, let's just be like,
Hmm.
do a kind of a source book about time travel adventures of going forward and going backward, what you could do and how to do things like split timelines and stuff like that, paradoxes and whatnot. But
The multiverse.
the
Introduce the multiverse.
and then get interested. I mean, the multiverse has been, yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like that would be a different book in a lot of ways.
Oh, okay.
Um, because there's different. Yeah, I mean, they could be tied together. Maybe time travel in of its own is not enough for for a source book, of course.
Right.
So maybe it is a time travel slash multiverse kind of source book. But the adventure that I want to do always is the time travel adventure. And I've talked about this,
Okay.
I'm sure, on the podcast a couple times, what the general plot would be and what was
Yeah.
going on. But it is not a going back in time to change something adventure, which always people are like,
Right.
well, what if they go back to the gap? You don't give the if you want to do an adventure path adventure, you can't just give the PCs a time machine and then and expect them to do the adventure,
Right.
right? This is it's a very controlled. You're getting shunted around in time. You maybe have a little bit of at some point a little bit of a time machine that almost works and takes you to a very specific place, or maybe there's a place where you can go enter a couple different sort of sets of specific coordinates that you can do in any order or whatever. But it's definitely something from the future where they invent time travel comes back to the present,
Hmm.
and that gets you sort of mixed up and brought into the future, so you don't necessarily have to worry about changing history. You're really just sort of you're the history that's being changed by the bad guys, and you've got to sort of keep that stable, or and then find a way back to your own time. So it's a little bit of a
Right.
stranded, being lost. It's very, 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 very inspired by the comic book series Paper Girls. If you haven't read it, it's very good. Go read it. The TV show that they made was okay. So I would just suggest reading the books instead. Um, yeah, and it just sort of like I just want to do that. I want to end like the sort of the first sort of couple chapters with you killing the big bad for the second time, essentially, but it's
Hmm.
your first time, but it's his second time being you find them. So I just like doing that kind of weird loop where he sees you and it goes, not you again, and starts attacking you, and you're like, oh no, but he's been thrown back in time because when you kill him at the end of the adventure, that's the first time you're doing it to him, and it throws him back in time very weakened, so you can kill him for so you're basically ending, you're getting your comeuppance, then you get
Yeah.
to sort of
Yeah.
complete the loop.
I like
It's
that.
just
Yeah.
sort of like a fun little thing that I and then
Yeah.
throw some other things in there, sort of.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Uh,
W- So I mentioned I got
where's
Fallout.
Fallout? Yeah.
I got Fallout, and so one of the things I've really enjoy are post-apocalyptic kind of
Hmm.
settings,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that both a post-apocalyptic kind of source book, So how to run
Mhm.
Starfinder in that type of situation. So like, basically where you don't have easy access to power, recharge everything all the time.
Sure,
And,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so how can you scavenge and craft and do things like that? And then have a whole adventure path kind of sitting in that setting. Um, I really enjoyed Gamma World way back
Mhm.
when,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, yeah.
playing that and pushing it in a lot of different directions. And I think that would be it'd be a lot different than Starfinder. All the fantastical stuff you have. It'd be a lot grittier. You know, trying to
Yeah.
figure things out, and you could do a lot of the same things that you're talking about with your time loops, where you could find out that you're actually in the very distant future or distant past or
Mhm.
whatever, and that's why everything kind of got all messed up type of
Right,
situation.
yeah.
So,
I see. I was gonna ask you what apocalypse this would be set after. Like, would you put it on a known place, or maybe hiding that from the players right away? Oh, then you
right.
find out. Oh, you're on Akaton. You've been on Akaton the whole time, or whatever. But like, or would you set it on just to take a whole new planet and just be like, 100, 200 years ago, apocalypse happened, and now you're sort of your people coming out of the
Yeah, I
vaults or whatever, right?
right, right, right. I think you'd be better off setting it in a whole new place
Yeah,
rather
yeah,
because the issue is if you want to have some sort of continuity with the rest of the Starfighter universe, right? If you take Casterville or Akaton or something and completely thrash it, well, you still have all these other planets in your solar system that are fine, and we have faster than light travel. You have all kinds of stuff, so it have to be more like you're way out in the vast, away from everything, and it turns out you find
and
out whatever. Yeah,
I mean that's why I kind of did that with Attack of the Swarm. I wanted to really wreck up a planet, but I didn't want to
right.
have it necessarily. Nowadays, I think that wrecking up a planet in the pack worlds could be a thing that you could do,
Because they've done
and
it.
it sort
Yeah.
of they've done it, and basically make it make it a part of a meta event or something like
Right.
that. That is like, oh, that's the swarm is attacking. But when we were sort of still, I mean, Attack of the Swarm is not like at the beginning of Starfighter stuff. It's
Right.
still kind of early-ish.
Yeah.
And when we were doing that, we didn't really have these ideas in mind. This is obviously before the Drift Crisis, so like couldn't
Right.
really
Well, in Drift
mess
Crisis,
the
it
system setting up.
kind of takes a little bit of a poke at this, right? Where
Yeah,
one
yeah, yeah,
part of your technology is messed up. I mean, so possibly if you wanted to have a meta event, you could have something that there's some well, the technology virus that's eating everything up, and basically, all technology is eroding away, and you have to rely
yeah.
on your old school Pathfinder second edition equipment instead, in order to find the whatever. But it's yeah, I don't want to play that way. I think it'd be more
Yeah,
fun
no,
to have it as separate. Yeah.
you just sort of like because you do it in a way that I think that like when you're running this as a campaign, you're all coming out onto the maybe onto the surface and seeing the and your characters are like the vault dweller. You don't know
Right.
anything about the outside world. You know a little bit about
Right.
what you've been taught, and you get that's the player's guide is what you know, and then you're
Right.
coming out and you're learning more about the wider world. And maybe as a sort of like to make this a Starfinder, really Starfinder adventure, maybe this campaign is about putting together a starship and getting off this planet
Right.
and making connections with the wider universe,
Right.
and being like, oh, and now you can go if it's whatever it's a low level to eighth level adventure. Yeah, now if you want
Right.
to move the campaign to a ninth level, yeah, you're out and you can go anywhere and do anything, and you're
Mhm.
basically
Yeah.
back to sort of baseline.
So,
Yeah, that's pretty
anyways,
cool. Yeah, I would
that's
do that. I
something.
would do that. Yeah, yeah. Um, this is just to sort of like bring up something that I just started playing a game called The Altars um, on Xbox. That's it's a sci-fi game where you crash land on this alien planet. You don't all the other crew is dead, but you find the base. You have this mobile base, which is basically this big wheel that you can kind of like, upgrade and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But you can't. You're the only one who survives, but you can't do it on your own. You find this like mineral that you've been sent out to find. It's called Rapidium, and I think it's something to do with time. Speeds things up basically, right? It like lets you, so they say, oh, test it out, see if it works, here's some DNA and grow a clone in like 1 hour, and you grow a clone of a sheep, and you're like, oh my gosh. And then you have a quantum computer, and they're like, we can't do this by yourself. So what you do is you have to make clones of yourself, but you go into your sort of like timeline a little bit, and sort of like take your life map or whatever they call it, and they say, oh, in this part I, instead of leaving home at 18, I stayed home and, did something. And now that clone has like more technician experience
uh,
than you. So you ran, oh, you're the technician. And there's one you can make a scientist or a doctor or something, stuff like that. So you have to like do that. But they're all you. And that's kind of like, they'll be kind of funny to try to do make sort of everyone, set everyone down. This can't really be like something you would sell, honestly, but this
right.
could be a fun campaign to be like, hey, you're all playing clones of the same person. So you can be any class you want, right? But maybe everyone is human, or maybe if someone's human and someone is android, but you're the android clone, or you do it like you were just sort of talking before, a multiverse. This is the multiverse where you're a Lashunta, like, and then you're all just sort of in one place and got to solve the problem together.
Well, I thought that at the Paizo panel, one of the things they talked about is a clone ancestry, the Jarus, right? There was a Joro,
Oh yeah, all
right?
of the same. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
All the
yeah,
same,
yeah.
right? And you can play one of them, but you're a different flavor. So that's what happened in
Yes,
the society scenarios. You had
right.
one clone, one individual, but they did all these kind of different
There's
things
a
as you
bunch of clones.
suggested. Yeah.
Was it a background or was it a versatile heritage?
I
I
don't
don't remember
remember. I
now.
just remember somebody asked
Yeah,
about that or something came up and,
yeah,
oh, well,
yeah.
they
I
said,
don't know
yeah,
how
you can
that
do it.
you can make a source book out of it, or maybe it would just be a fun like one, not like a full adventure path adventure, but it might be
Yeah.
like a fun one level adventure. Just be like, now you're all,
Yeah.
maybe you're clones and you're trapped on a board a starship and you've got to work together to find your way out. Maybe that's the next free RPG day. Maybe something like that could be fun.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So one of the things I've thought about, and I'm not a big fan of this genre, but I
Hmm.
was really curious to see it. Do you remember that Grimmer Space Kickstarter that
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Starfinder a
yeah,
long
yeah,
time ago?
yeah.
And that's still on life support. They're still trying to work through
Okay.
something for it. But basically, it it took Starfinder and put it in a horror setting, and so
Yeah, a real gritty,
real
dirty, like
dark.
gross horror setting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we had Signal of Screams, which is kind of a
Yeah.
horror base, but this would be kind of like a source book and adventure, kind of pushing in that really dark, grimmer space area for second edition. In fact, that's one of the things if they're going to work on it still, I I would just hope that they would just port it over to second edition right off the bat rather
I
than,
mean,
you know,
that's an amount of work, but also
you know.
like there's no real point in kind of sticking with first edition. I mean, people might
Right.
still want to play first Starfinder, of course. People still play first
Yeah.
edition Pathfinder, and that's
Right.
fine. But like, where's the market, right?
Right.
If you
Right.
want to still
Exactly.
sell it, I
Kind of
mean,
thing.
although it was that it was if it's Kickstarter, then they've got everybody's money anyway. So I don't know.
Right. They do, and they owe certain things. So even if they were to push into second edition, they still probably have to make a first edition aspect. But
Yeah,
maybe
make both
if you're
of them.
working on it, okay, well, we'll do, first edition, but then we'll, kind of reshell it for second edition right off the bat. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. God. Oh, did I have another one? Let's see. What's out there? What kind of fun, weird genres? I mean, I know it's too. Again, a good way for the merging is when to doing a again, but this doesn't really fit in the setting that we currently have. But to basically do a spell jammer type, like with
Yeah.
I want to have literal wooden ships in space, like just
Yeah.
that weirdness of it, like
Yeah.
um, or something like just like how weird can you get, like with Starfinder? Do a saga where there are, I mean, we do have tree spaceships in Starfinder, so like why not do stuff like that? Like more weird like the weirdest ones, and some weird political war that's happening that you've got to deal with. It's just sort of like get real get real kooky with it. Um, which is, and again, I think we were talking about a couple of these things we've talked about. I feel like are briefly
Yeah.
mentioned in Galaxy Guide, like
Yeah.
post-apocalyptic and horror and
Right.
weird. So like let's take one of those genres in there
Really
and just
push it out there
expand it
though.
to a
Yeah.
push the limits on and expand it out to an entire book. Oh, you know what? There's something on the books we didn't talk about. We didn't do like deep dives onto certain parts of the setting that would be really good. Um I don't know how much you'd want to like, we had the pack roads, which had nice sort of I want to do would almost want to do more like the Lost Omen stuff is sort of like pick a
Yeah.
section and like
Yep.
which has like like look, Shining Kingdoms was just out, it has like 5 or 6 nations and it kind of goes in and
Hmm.
each of those things has like stuff attached to it.
Hmm.
Like at least one archetype and some items and some spells and some other general feats and stuff like that. Just sort of doing like really diving into like pick like the inner, call it the inner packed worlds, and you really dive deep on Abalon and Castrovel and Absalom Station or something like that.
Yeah. I think they do talk about things, and I hope that they do some deeper dives. In fact, all the things that I'm talking about, what gave me the idea is all the setting things that we have for Pathfinder Second Edition. There's just so many
Yeah.
different things, and one of the things I think is really cool for Pathfinder Second Edition, that I think could be great for Starfinder Second Edition, is a battle book like Battle
Hmm.
Cry. So
Okay.
basically, it's
Well, yeah, you could
warfare.
really get into space warfare. I mean,
Yeah.
because especially since the Atlantic Star Empire and the Vescarium are
Yes.
currently at war
At
with each other.
war.
There is a big war. What is that like? And I would, for me, if to make this sort of like at least a little bit, maybe a bit different, is that it is a not a deep dive on the exactly on the Vescarium and the Aslanti, but
Right.
specifically what the Vescarium war engine is. What is the Aslanti
Mm-hmm.
war engine? Maybe that is just together. That is a small chapter. One of the chapters is that's the
Right. Right.
setting
Right.
part of the book, right? And then you can do stuff like whatever ends up needing to be done. Whatever. Not to take uh, not to do tactical starship combat, but we did do armada combat
Right.
in one of the, I think in Tech Revolution or Starship Operations Manual, one of the two. Like, but that kind of thing, that's gonna need you would need a little maybe a little subsystem for that. That is not so like what's going on? What we're doing with skirmish encounters and battle cry. It's not so different from the main book from the main um engine of the game. Sorry.
Right.
But that's gonna be difficult to do. Whatever they do it, whatever they do, if they do anything with tactical starship combat, that it would just that, but maybe a little bit bigger. You know what I mean? Like so it's that same engine. So you have to learn. You don't have to learn a third thing if tactical
All right.
starship
Right.
combat
Right.
is
Right.
any different from the regular engine. I don't know. Yeah, and then fun archetypes, fun magic, battle magic. Yeah,
New vehicles, things like that.
vehicles.
Think
Yeah,
tanks. Having hover tanks or whatever, things like that.
yeah.
And I think you got to have mechs in there, right? Mechs going to war. How
Schmeck's going to
f-
war. I mean,
yeah.
yeah. When you introduce that, you'd have to have a mech book first, I think, because mechs in and of themselves can get complicated. So you have to have a mech book first, and then you could talk about the mechs at war book
Yeah.
in the next book. How to use the mechs in war.
Yeah.
But
How do
yeah,
mechs interact with vehicles and starships
right.
and
Yeah, I
things
mean,
like
maybe they're
that? I
the
mean, it's like,
similar and same. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, so I thought that would be right in your wheelhouse since you did Battle Cry. And
I, I'll be perfectly frank that this stuff is not generally in my wheelhouse anyway. It's just the book that I got assigned to do.
okay, well, it's in my wheelhouse, so I like
It's
it a
in
lot.
your wheelhouse. I
Yeah,
mean, it's more. Yeah, I mean, that's why I came to you for some other writing.
nice. Other
Um,
thoughts?
No. Wait, no, yes. I was gonna talk a little bit about Vescarum and Aslanti Star Empire. Maybe just a book that is the Aslanti Star about that, like,
Oh, that would
or
be
and
cool, actually. Yeah.
an
Yeah.
Aslanti Star Empire deep dive and all of their colony galaxies. There's a lot going on there that we only
Yeah.
kind of touched on very, very briefly in Against the Ion Throne.
Hmm.
Love to see more of that. Love to know more about what's going on there. There's plenty more ancestries to chalk in, right? There's stuff. And because whatever's changing, right?
Right.
Not only with the war, there's the leadership is changing. So like, let's talk about the history of that and how that's getting shifted around and stuff. Yeah.
Hmm. So I have kind of one more I think I'll mention, and this is a big throwback to one of my favorite books from D&D back in the day. Was I really enjoyed Deities and Demigods,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
although we touch on various gods and we mention demigods off and on, I think having a big book just dedicated to that, including, especially for demigods, stat blocks, or if these things show up and how you might
Yeah.
have to deal with them.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't like stat blocks for gods personally.
No, that's what I'm saying, demigods, not god gods.
Demigods, fair enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Demigods, we put tree you have a stat block for
Yeah.
tree raiser. It
Yeah.
means you can kill him. Stat block for some herald of the newborn or whatever. Yeah,
Right.
great, awesome.
Right.
Not that newborn itself, I think. Yeah.
Right.
No,
Right.
that's good. Divine mysteries, gods and magic
Right.
for Starfinder. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So again, I think a lot of that's happening on the Pathfinder side. I would imagine there will be some inspiration there. Say, hey, this would be a fun book to have on the other side too.
Hmm. Definitely.
Any other thoughts?
No, I'm not having any thoughts. My mind has gone a little bit blank. I want to breathe. Can I? No, I don't
Go
know if you
ahead.
want to wrap up this
No, no, no.
topic,
Go
if you
ahead.
have any other thoughts yourself. I was gonna talk about something slightly different.
Sure.
Nothing to just to talk a little bit about like, hey, a plug at this point is that the last week, over a week from when this comes out, I think, the second of the new Battlecry Iconics Meet the Iconics is out, and it's the one I wrote, and everyone go check it out and comment on it because I want to hear how people like my big blue boy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I like it. So,
thank you. I like him too.
well, and when Ron gets back, we'll maybe have him chime in a couple things.
Okay, sure. Why not?
All right. Well, I'm John.
And I'm Jason, and this has been Digital Divination.